Today, I am going to give you the scientific proof and reasons to validate what you and millions of other survivors have experienced, that you either couldn't find the words to explain it or felt that no one would get it, even if you could. Because what happened to you was not just abuse. So stick with me, because I am going to explain what really did happen that will change how you see everything about what you have survived. Narcissistic abuse isn't like other trauma. When someone gets mugged, crashes their car, or experiences a single traumatic event, specific memories get damaged, but the person's sense of self remains intact. But with narcissistic abuse, it's not an event, it's a process, a systemic demolition of your identity while you're still living in it. And this creates a very specific pattern of brain damage that explains why you're experiencing symptoms that don't fit traditional trauma models. Your brain has a network called the default mode network, or DMN. This is your me mode network that the brain uses when you're not actively focused on something specific or doing a task. It's the little voice in your head when you're daydreaming, or remembering yesterday, or planning something for tomorrow. Even when this network isn't idle, the DMN is still doing three absolutely critical jobs. It's creating your continued sense of self, constantly processing who am I, so that you're able to maintain this feeling of being you. 2, it handles your connections with other people. It helps you understand relationships and how you fit in with them. And 3, it creates meaning. It takes all of your experiences, weaves them together into a story that makes sense. Why things matter, what has purpose, your likes, dreams, fears, who you think you are. It's literally what makes you feel like a person who exists, who matters, who belongs. And here's the devastating part. Over time, their extreme me mode trains your brain to lose your me mode. Your DMN gets inverted into constantly processing and managing their manufactured crisis. Because the combination of their disregard for others, their sense of entitlement, need for control, and all the heinous, hateful, hurtful, manipulative bullshit they hurl at your head creates the perfect storm for DMN corruption. The brain isn't allowed to process a shock and return to safety. It's held in this constant, continuous psychological siege. You're perpetually trying to solve this unsolvable emotional puzzle. What did I do wrong this time? How can I say this without making them angry? Was that a lie? Am I misremembering? The brain gets trapped in this negative self-referential rumination. Simultaneously, the salience network becomes hypervigilant, like in anxiety disorders, constantly scanning for even the subtle shifts in the narcissist's mood. So the brain can't relax because the DMN's internal world is as unsafe as the external one. This leads to restlessness, similar to that of ADHD. The brain can't settle. Even when alone, you can't focus because the salience network keeps flagging internal thoughts as urgent threats, resulting in mental exhaustion and the inability to concentrate on simple tasks. Your personal timeline becomes organized around the relationship events rather than personal growth. It dysregulates your interoception. You have reduced awareness of internal bodily states and emotions. You have a heightened sensitivity to external emotional cues, their mood, less internal guidance systems for decision making. When you're repeatedly told that that didn't happen, that you're crazy, that you're misremembering something, your brain's confidence in its own record begins to fray. There's memory gaps. You often have this genuine difficulty remembering and recalling events accurately, not because your memory is inherently faulty, but because it has been systemically overwritten and invalidated. By projecting their own flaws, insecurities, and rage, the DMN internal monologue, which should be the voice of you, becomes contaminated by their criticisms, leading to this profound confusion. Is this my fault? Am I really selfish, stupid, unlovable, like they said? The brain is caught between two bad options. Pay attention to the external threat, the narcissist, or pay attention to the internal threat, the rumination, confused DMN. Your brain's self-processing resources become dedicated to processing the narcissist inside yourself. This isn't metaphorical. This is a measurable brain change. Your neural pathways that used to create your sense of self now focused on monitoring, predicting, and managing someone else's. Then by the end, you're left with a brain that has a default mode network wired to process someone else instead of you. You have decision-making systems that can't function without external direction, safety systems that can't recognize actual safety, and identity systems that have no context. And this explains the 9 specific symptoms that survivors report that make sense once you understand what really happens to your brain. 1, not recognizing yourself in the mirror. When you look in the mirror and think, who is that person? It's because your brain's self-recognition system aren't connected to your visual processing anymore. You literally cannot connect your image to a sense of self because the self-processing system is offline. Missing and ruminating about the abuser. I know that they hurt me, but I can't stop thinking about them. Your default mode network was wired to focus on them. The DMN is stuck rehearsing the other not self, and ruminating can feel like missing them, but really stems from this absence of me mode, feeling like an empty shell. There's nothing inside of me. Self-referential processing creates this sense of internal richness and depth. With the DMN inversion, leaves a literal neurological void where self-awareness should be. Compulsive people-pleasing. I can't say no to anyone because your brain's been primed by the trauma to prioritize reading and appeasing others, often at your own expense, because your other mode is in overdrive and the me mode is silent. You develop a loss of motivation or any kind of sense of agency, because agency is a goal-directed action and requires a stable self. With me mode suppressed, it's hard to identify once, set goals, or find motivation. Time distortion. Every day feels the same. Life starts to feel like it's happening to you. There's no clear boundaries between past, present, or future, just an unpending, undifferentiated experience. The loss of hope for the future and the loss of a future self. Procrastination and giving up on self-care. You can do things for others, but not yourself. Self-directed action requires self-referential motivation systems, and those are rewired to focus externally, so you feel foreign or wrong doing things for yourself. And here's the part that will make everything click. When the relationship ends, you're left with a brain that has lost the ability to process you. The circuits that should be creating your sense of self are either offline or still wired to focus on someone else who's no longer there. So what this actually feels like, you're left with literally no one. Not them, not your support network, not even yourself. It's not just psychological solitary confinement. It is living death. The literal experience what death is psychologically. Complete cessation of experience, no connections, no relationships, no meaning, pure void, nothingness. What you're experiencing, your consciousness is intact, but the machinery that generates meaning, connection, and selfhood is offline. You can perceive the void that most living people are neurologically protected from seeing. The cruel paradox, and why this is living death, is you have full awareness of the emptiness. You're conscious enough to experience the terror of non-existence, but none of the life-generating mechanisms, connection, meaning, identity, are functioning. You're awake inside your own psychological death. The ultimate isolation that most people can't reach because their DMN automatically populates emptiness with something. Their brain throws them a psychological lifeline. They have backup systems of meaning and connection. You have been stripped of those. No automatic mental rescue system, no backup identity, no connection to fall back on, just pure conscious experience of void. It's like being buried alive in your own mind. Fully aware, but cut off from everything. That makes existence feel real and meaningful, what philosophers call existential, but without any of the buffers that make it bearable. That is not just trauma. That's having a fundamental architecture of being human, temporarily disabled. Let me be crystal clear about what you have survived. This wasn't abuse. It is psychological murder. They systemically dismantled your neural architecture of selfhood. They colonized your mind, hijacked your internal voice, and left you conscious but empty. You're experiencing something most people literally cannot, a living death. But you are still here. Do you understand the magnitude of that? You survived conscious death and endured a void that your brain was designed to never let you do. You lived through having your fundamental humanity stripped away from you piece by piece until there was nothing left but their program running on your neural hardware. That makes you extraordinary. What you are doing now isn't healing from trauma. You are literally bringing yourself back from the dead. Reclaiming your voice from their programming starts with micro choices and micro selfhood. Make the smallest possible autonomous decisions. Coffee or tea? I sit here or I sit there. Each tiny choice rebuilds neural pathways of self-determination. Your brain needs to remember what it feels like to be a person who chooses for you. Body as anchor to self. Physical sensations bypass these hijacked DMN. So feel your feet on the ground. Feel your breath on your skin. Put an ice cube in your hand to let your body know that it's still yours. It wasn't colonized like your mind. Use physical awareness to build a foundation of exist. External reality checks. Write down one objective fact about your day. I ate breakfast at 9 a.m. It rained today. Build evidence that you exist independently of their narrative. And why this works is because you're essentially performing neural archaeology, digging beneath their programming to find traces of your original self-processing systems. Start with these micro practices because your brain needs to relearn that you can generate reality and not just receive their version of it. The goal isn't healing it. It's proving to your brain that selfhood is possible. You're rebuilding consciousness itself, teaching your brain to remember what it means to be a human. Every time you catch their voice in your head and say, that's not me, that is resurrection. Each tiny choice you make is resurrection. Every moment you choose to exist instead of their projection is resurrection. You're doing something that shouldn't be possible. You are coming back from psychological death, rebuilding selfhood from nothing, proving that human spirit is more resilient than the cruelest of programmers. You're not a victim recovering. You are a rebel, bringing yourself back from a state that most people can't even